Welcome to this edition of the program. I'm yours truly, Don Onyenji. Back here, off and on for, obvious reasons. I can't guarantee I'll be able to. But the show goes on. Yes. Issues everywhere and around us. And today we're going to talk about the economy of the world, focusing on Anambra State and Nigeria, because we need to also strategize to survive. Yes. And of course, recently, America is also being said to be facing imminent global recession, economic recession. And if America will experience that, then the rest of the world will be getting ready for the worst of it. In our studios right now, we have two personalities who have the authority and the background to talk about this. First is the lady in charge of budget and economic planning in Anambra State. And I'm talking about Chiamaka Nake, Madam Commissioner. Yeah, sure, you're welcome. And at the end of it, the other side is an economist and University Don, Bruno Ibekilo, Head Economics Department, Chukwemeka Odumegwu Chukwu University. You're welcome, Bruno.
Thank you.
Yes. And so, ladies and gentlemen, our lady and gentlemen, of course, you out there, you're part of this conversation. So we don't have much time, but we'll crack it as much as we can. Yes, looking at the global economic trends now, a lot of issues are cropping up, a lot of challenges, a lot of causes there. You may talk about global climate change, corruption, wars, a lot of them. So let's start with Chiamaka herself, Honorable Commissioner. I'm sure you've been following trends and looking at what's coming up here and there, challenging the efforts of humanity. Yes. What do you think are a few of the causes of this trend?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for this question. I think principally for two reasons: the global economy, including Nigeria, we're just recovering from COVID-19, the impact of COVID-19. 2020 was almost total economic lockdown, and then 2021, and then 2022, we're just trying to come out, and then the Russian-Ukraine crisis hit. So these are the two principal things that have plagued the global economy. Every other thing revolves around us, but these are the two major things. The COVID, obviously, the distortion in the supply chain, the global reduction in productivity within the COVID period, and then the commodity prices as a result of this the Russia-Ukraine crisis. Obviously, that's actually the height of it at this time, the high oil prices that then reducing production and also skyrocketing inflation across the world. So I think everything revolves around these two major factors. Every other thing is just, okay, we're trying aftermath or impact of this of these two causes. So yeah, US not left out. Every part of the world just experiencing it. Nigeria inclusive. Currently, the crude oil prices are as high as 120, which would have been good for Nigeria. But then, when you look at the other impact of this, especially that we are highly import dependent, things are high, so we need to also spend the money to import. So, and then the high cost of goods in Nigeria, inflation. I just bringing it down to Nigeria, and Anambra State is at the heart of Nigeria. So whatever happens in Nigeria has impact on Anambra State. Inflation is currently at 18.5, 18.9%, which is almost 19%. So that's actually for us. That's our dilemma at this time, and same with the global economy. So Nigeria is just a part of it. Yeah.
And just before most of these developments, Nigeria was tagged the poverty capital of the world. Now, things are going haywire. So you can imagine what's up there for us if we don't do the right things at this point. Bruno, what's your take in the global view of economic trends? Yeah.
Okay, if you want to take it from the global arena, the global arena, like Sharon said, is experiencing some lot of shocks, globally, arising from first of all from the COVID and post-COVID economic outcomes. Then you now talk about the Russia-Ukraine war. Then, if you look at it again, this pressure and the shocks that follows it, you find out that for the first time in Europe, they are increasing their interest rates from 0 to 0.5%. It shows you that there are problems when the European Union could accept to increase interest rates. Then America is equally increasing all over the world. They are increasing interest rates. So what that will tell you is that it will hit on the capacity of people to buy. Already we have inflation that is sitting on the capacity to buy, and now you're increasing interest rates. In all, what it shows is that there is a problem globally. But again, you look at it this way: we have a way of that is bringing her back to Nigeria. We have a way of coming out of these things. Remember, after the sub-mortgage prime issue in the US and then the combination to recession, we in Nigeria were talking about salary increases for our lecturers. So, and again, you look at now oil prices is soaring, but the problem here is that the militancy in the Niger Delta, the insecurity in the country, we cannot even export the oil to end that increase in oil prices. So again, when you talk about the infrastructure and a lot of other problems we are having as challenges, so we are expecting that the whole thing, being in a global community, that we are going to see it in Nigeria. But I still believe that there's a way we'll come out of it. What we need is just to put our things in order. Some of those exogenous factors that are around the operational system of the economy will help a lot here. In Nigeria, we have a way of coming out of it, like I said earlier. Especially the Anambra man. Today we have the least level of unemployment after Lagos State. We have our youths. But the challenge is that we have an unemployment of about 33%, and we're talking about 53% of them being youths, unemployed. So, by the grace of God, we are the least unemployed in Nigeria today after Lagos State. So, what we need to do is to create enablers for these youth to fire. Okay, by creating these enablers, what we are doing today in Anambra State, cut off all these toll gates. Toll gates, I mean, where these things leak, all those leakages. Close all these leakages. Do some little infrastructural support. Then we are good to go as a state. But remember, being a state, and even the smallest state by landmass after Lagos again. You find out that these internal migrants, you must care for them because they are in your state. So that brings up another pressure on the state. So as you are doing these things, you find out that it's not what we can do as a state alone. We can move as a state, starting carrying on regional integration like in the southeast, because you can't stop somebody from Taraba and Babeyoko from coming to Anambra. Anambra is not in heaven. What is happening in Imo has chased them away. Anambra is the heaven. Go to Neu, they are there. You know, carry everywhere. Manina Bokara, Manina Bokeke, everywhere. Manina Polish, Manina Yoku Maeyo. Because they know they are going to survive here.
Yeah.
So what we need to do is to plan towards accommodating these internal migrants, provide infrastructure, then think of regional collaboration, which at the end of the day we are going to push to national level. So believing that when all of us becomes what we are expecting that will become in 2023, that things may come out better. That's my thinking.
Well, thank you very much. Pressure on Anambra State. The linkage, the nexus, if it's there, between the federal economy and the sub-regional economy in Anambra perspective, because you know, of course, that our region is not enjoying some cohesion, as it were, economically, strategically, and all of that. Anambra is pushing. We are in Anambra State. We know what Anambra is doing right now with development economist Professor Charles Soludo. He's doing a lot here now. But what we are seeing, perhaps from other parts of the East, I wouldn't claim authoritatively that we are really there. But let's look at the federal now, what they are doing. Is there any effort you're observing, Chamaka, from the federal that are really geared towards ameliorating these challenges?
So currently, I think
to protect Nigeria from the from the, well, I wouldn't call it doom, but another recession and impact of the global challenges.
Okay, I think the reality is real, and I think we've come to understand that we are actually at the verge of plunging into a ditch if things are not quickly um, improved upon. So currently, like I said, inflation rate is at 18.9. So that's already saying that look, um, if we were in a worse position, we're even worse. Yeah, in the worst position right now. So if we're in a worse position, we're even at a worse position now. And also in response to that, I know that last week, beginning of last week, the NPC increased interest rates as well in response to that. So that's the best they can do right now. But then also within last week, our revenue outweighed our debt profile outweighed our revenue as our Q1. That's
Yeah.
already telling you we're in a
We are
dilemma.
borrowing to pay debts.
Yeah, so
Can imagine. Mmadụ
so
ji ụgwọ na-ebi ego ka o wee gwọọ ụgwọ o ji. I
yeah.
mean,
So yeah, so that already says that we know where we are as Nigeria. I think
Yeah.
there's been even I think the first way of even acknowledging that there is to acknowledge there's a problem, which at least at that level I know that we've come out a lot of message has come out to say this is the position of Nigeria. Then the question is how do we come out of it? There's a lot of things currently being done, but is it working? Because right now we need to even for us to even we need some level of economic re-engineering, if I have to say, just to ensure that where we are, we really don't go for deep down into plunge further actually because I'm in my head I'm thinking what can we do as a country from where we are. The only thing that says it is how can we produce more, how can Nigeria be more productive, how can we produce what we consume because everything still used to we are dependent, highly dependent. The only thing that brings us to a point of competition or even conversation is our oil.
Yeah.
And like he said, we can't even I think we the bunkering activities and everything kind of continues to put us continues to reduce Nigeria what Nigeria will get eventually. So if we look towards internally how Nigeria can be productive and also how can we ensure that there's more transparency in what we do, especially around even trying to manage the oil we have, that would be like an interim way of resolving where we are at this time. However, ultimately is how do we produce what we consume? How can we get Nigeria to be more productive? How can we ensure that we get all our sectors working beyond oil? The era of oil has gone. I think we have that's something we've acknowledged. But then how do we ensure that we engage other segments of the economy or other sectors to be more productive? Anambra State, in surviving in Anambra State, I know that I think it's something we have already earlier in the day to say the era of oil has stopped. So right now we're looking internally to see what can Anambra State do. There are lots of things. We are very resourceful. We are very productive people. So it's actually how do we enable the environment to make the Anambra person fully harness the potential. So that's where we are. So it's something we already realized in Anambra State, and we are actually creating the enabling environment to say that Anambra State can continue to thrive amidst the current issues in Nigeria.
Okay. Thank you very much. If you just joined us, this is Issues coming your way live from the studios of the Anambra Broadcasting Service. The signals being generated from Oka. Well, before we come back to Anambra State to really tie it up, Bruno, Nigeria, just as Jamaka said, Honorable Commissioner, as a lot around Nigeria as a nation, and it appears we are not getting it right. Naira has fallen down to 645 Naira per dollar, and we're still having energy crisis, infrastructure crisis, and all of that. What do you think Nigeria can do? Taking maybe 1 or 2 minutes to,
Yes, given the crisis situation we are approaching, if we are not there yet, I think the first thing we do is to be sincere. Sincerity of purpose and objective will help a lot. Before the plant site, we start to expand to increase output. Before we go back to the farm to increase agricultural output and then employ more people. The money we have at hand, how are we spending it? And what we should first of all do is to close our leakages. I keep on saying that Nigeria is about like you said earlier, the headquarters of world poverty. Though that is in relation to dollar. People who earn a given amount of dollar per day, then once you do that, given the exchange rate, a lot of Nigerians will go into the poverty margin. But if that is our standard, that same poor country is paying her senators the most in the whole world. It doesn't show sincerity.
Yeah.
That same country that is very poor, what is that amount that we are paying for administrative charges? Our political office holders, what are they taking home? There's one they call security vote. That security vote for every person and all these SADs and the PA to SA and all this baggage of the routine of delegate, I don't know what you call them, convoy that follow one person around. Those costs can be used to at least cushion this shock in the short term now that we are here. So then before we now start to progress, then around the country again, those if you look at our this dependence on oil, oil gives less than 10%, about 10% of our GDP. And at the same time, that same oil is our highest foreign exchange earner. So there's a paradox existing here. So what we are seeing is that our productive sectors are not marketable internationally. So we have to do what? Try to increase our export immediately. Those things we are producing or those things that are engaging us more. How do we sell it abroad? Our beans from Nigeria have not been able to enter Europe. Some people use even what is the one they used to commit suicide before? They spread it on the beans.
What is that?
All forms of sniper
And all of that, yes.
Sniper and there's one they tie up in nylon, a kodo, to preserve beans. And once you eat it, you start to feel it in your stomach immediately. That's why most of the food we produce here, because of the way we preserve them, our food cannot enter most of these countries where we can end that foreign exchange immediately. So we have a lot of reforms to start doing, but the mind of Anambra, an average Nigerian, needs to be rejected immediately. Look at what India did at a point with a population of about 1.2 billion. China did with about 1.3 billion. What are we doing about what we are producing locally? Think India and buy India. If we can adopt that now in Nigeria, with a population of about 200 and something million people, half of them or more than half of them consuming locally made goods and consuming locally made food, then a lot of things we have to change. We have to start looking at what is that we are doing. We have car manufacturing plants in Nigeria, assembling plants in Nigeria. Our political leaders, do they ride on those vehicles? You go to India, they have Tata and Suzuki Maruti. You see their presidents and head of state, and who do you have riding on Indian Tata? So these are ways we have to show that this thing we are talking about, we practicalize it. So that by maybe in the longer term, a lot of things changes may start to come, we now start to adjust. Then bringing it home, here, we have already started doing that. Our governor have laid a lot of foundation around this domestication of consumption and then consuming what we are producing and producing what we are going to consume. Then engaging people locally, reducing the cost of governance, and a lot of things that are already on paper, are already rolling out in the state. That needs to be consolidated, and in consolidating that, you're going to set an example of what leadership ought to be. Peter, when he was there, did his own. Then over in the next dispensation, a lot of things changed. I heard about 6,000 or 5,000 SAs, and I don't know where their offices were. So if those changes we have seen with this present government is continued, and then that is being prudent with resources, it's continued. There was a road we saw at Anambra in axis, the other one at Anambra, and we saw that this amount of money saved in governance alone from one of around the government around. So, and you see where it is put into government. So once this thing continues and then goes round, it becomes a culture. If you're a local government chairman, if you're a PG, you know that a government and again, we the people should stop adding pressure on political appointees. This idea of commissioner go give as a host to people should understand that people are appointed to go and serve. Don't want to say because when we bring in a battalion, we will not from Kevin Bowen, donation. So we have to really remove all those considerations around our political appointees and then political officers so that I am if I want an academic catch before Batania.
Adoma. I think we may not have time for phone calls in this, and I'm apologizing for that because Chamaki will be rounding off now. Bruno has mentioned a lot of things the governor and the present administration has put on ground to ensure that we tighten up, close loopholes, define leadership and administration. What else do you want to add? So we'll wrap up in 1 minute.
I think more especially is value for money.
Yeah.
So what can we do that in the we can do the same thing in a more productive and a more efficient. We can add more value we can do more with less. I think that's the quote. We can do more with less. So while we are in the midst of we are a subnational, in the midst of all the things in Nigeria, we are working towards ensuring that the little resources we have in Anambra, we can maximize, and Anambra can see value for it. So I think that's what we are working on, and that's actually what our government is looking to achieve. So I think the quote is actually doing more with less. That's what we live saying. That's what we hope to do.
Yeah, thank you very much. And of course, from all indications of what we are seeing and been hearing from government, the government of Anambra State under Professor Charles Soludo, agriculture is it.
Yes.
And we are going regenerative. We want to emphasize on organic food to manage our health, and then export food.
Yes.
And then the infrastructure, the roads, you are in charge of budget. Just that time does not allow you to explode. But I know that in this 2 years budget, over 200 and
over 50 billion we have on roads alone, right?
You can imagine.
Because we want to ensure that the roads, the infrastructure is there for people to thrive, for the economy to thrive. So we have on youth and capacity building, we have over 2 billion on youth development. So that's actually what we really want to ensure, that our people have the required resource and they have the capacity to be able to deliver. We have just a lot of things we have thought you have in the pipeline for the Anambra. I think in the next few weeks they will keep trickling in, but I think the major thing is that is a partnership, right? Hear something, say something. If Obuna, your suggestions and your contributions will always be welcomed at every point, because it's an inclusive government that we hope to run.
Yeah, thank you very much. And the government is also pounding security. So I want to thank you, Chamaka, Madam Commissioner for Budget and Economic Planning, Anambra State Government. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Bruno Ibekilo, Head of Economics Department, Chukwemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu University, formerly Anambra State University. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Very important. And I'm Don Onyenji, your host here, thanking you for being part of this conversation. Remain blessed.